So you just got your dog back from the 3-week board and train. The 3-week board and train is an advanced on-leash board and train, so it covers all on-leash obedience. I'm going to go over a couple questions that I always get asked, either in the first follow-up or as the dog is home. That way we can all kind of review them together, and if you have any other questions, of course, reach out. The first question is, will my dog come to me if the leash is not on? Pretty much if they're off leash, can I recall my dog? No, your dog is on leash trained, so they respond to on leash obedience. If they're off leash, they can just get away with whatever they want because we never taught them an e-collar or any type of correction in the distance. Obviously, I can give you exercises you can practice with your dog, which are purely positive exercises, with treats. I just don't have any training tool that you can use for your dog in that situation. After that is, when should my dog have the prong collar on? Your dog should always have the prong collar on, besides when they're in their crate or not supervised. If your dog's not supervised, we never want the collar to get stuck in the branch in the backyard or anything like that, or in the fence, and then create a negative mindset towards the collar. We do a lot of training to make sure your dog understands the collar and understands what we're asking for the collar and doesn't feel in a negative way towards the collar. So we don't want it just to get stuck on something and then he doesn't like having it on. Then I usually get asked, what if the dog is barking in the crate? How can I correct that? If you only did the on-leash, most likely I'm going to recommend you the off-leash, that way we can teach an e-collar. But if you didn't do that, I would probably just run a leather leash through the crate and give a correction that way. Leather leash, because if they chew on leashes, they won't tear through it. And then that usually follows up with the question, can my dog sleep with a prong collar on? Absolutely not. That's only if you're practicing the barking behavior at home. If your dog is a barker, I usually probably recommend you not to have the crate in the room, to have it in a separate bedroom, office, laundry room, just not in the living room and not in your bedroom. We want that to be their bed and we want it to be away from you so they can just learn to self-soothe. Then I always recommend a crate cover, and then yeah, just to leave them alone so they can practice self-soothing and relax themselves. But if it is a board and train, they're pretty good at just being quiet in their crate. If you feel the collar is too big or too small, the collar leaves here fitted to your dog. Remember, the collar does have to be snug, riding up the upper part of their dog's jaw neck. It should be up high, not low. This is where the throat is. We never want to apply pressure there. We want it up high. So just keep that in mind when you're fitting the collar to your dog. And the prong collars, you can add prongs so you can make it bigger as your dog grows up or matures. Besides that, I usually get asked, my dog responds really well to you, but doesn't respond so well to me. Every single follow-up, the first one is always this, especially if they did advanced on-leash. You're not correcting hard enough. You're not correcting hard enough, so your dog doesn't really respect you and they value whatever they're doing more. So for instance, if a dog likes barking a lot, and let's just give it a value of 8, and if we could create a value to popping and you're popping at a 2 or 3, that value of 8 obviously is greater than the 3. So they're going to keep barking until you give them a correction high enough for that behavior to now be deterring or not wanted. So keep that in mind when you're correcting your dog. Always correct your dog in the direction of the command. So for instance, if you ask for a sit, you pop upwards. I always start light and then up the pressure according to the dog is listening, or if I find myself always repeating the command or always repeating no. So that being said, make sure you pop in the direction. So a sit upwards, a down downwards. If they're pulling on leash, pop backwards to slow your dog down and teach him that you have to be right next to me. Rule of thumb is, if you can't turn left with your dog without tripping over your dog is too far ahead. And yeah, that's pretty much most of the questions I get asked on their first class, or what do I do once I get home with my dog. Just remember to keep a structure household for the first week, pretty much 80 to 90% structure, then 10% freedom. Have them place, have them healing around you the house. We just want to show them that these rules still apply at home. If they like to jump on the couch and you're trying to get rid of that behavior and you don't want a leash dragging around your house, you can also use a tab, which is pretty much an old leash. Cut it to 3 or 4 inches, depending how big your dog is. If you have a German Shepherd, you can cut it 4 or 5 inches. Pretty much just something for you to grab that's attached to the prong collar. That way they don't have to drag a leash all around the house. Hopefully this was helpful, and if you have any more questions, just feel free to reach out to me.